We are live with a NoDQ.com live recap of AEW Dynamite for January 29th, 2025. We are on the road to AEW Grand Slam, which is not going to be live, but rather it will be airing at like 10:30 p.m. Eastern on Saturday night. It will be a 2-hour show, basically an episode of Collision in Brisbane, Australia. But hey, we got that coming up. We do have AEW Revolution a little over a month away in Los Angeles. Now, let's get to AEW Dynamite. We had Will Ospreay versus Brian Cage in the opening match of the show. Brian Cage is basically Austin Theory, Grayson Waller, Pretty Deadly. He's a punching bag. He might win a match on Collision, but when he's on Dynamite, he's usually taking the L. So this is just a showcase match for Will Ospreay. Now, Don Callis showed footage of Kenny Omega, being attacked backstage. This led to Brian Cage taking advantage and getting the upper hand on Ospreay. And during the match, Ospreay would start to fight back, but then there would be the outside interference from Don Callis and Lance Archer. Cage would take control again. Eventually, though, things backfired on the Don Callis family. The referee caught Lance Archer knocking Will Ospreay's foot off the rope, and then Ospreay was able to send Cage into Archer, and then Ospreay pinned Brian Cage with the Styles Clash. So Brian Cage is so low on the AEW totem pole that he can't even lose to the Hidden Blade. He loses to Ospreay's third or fourth signature move. It is what it is. At least Brian Cage is getting TV time. Good for him. But a machine, not so much. Ospreay wins here. And then after the match, we have what is an AEW trademark now, the post-match beatdown. They attack him after the match, the Don Callis family. And then Kenny Omega, despite being laid out, he recovered. He came back out there with a steel chair, but then Konosuke Takeshita and Kyle Fletcher came down, and it was like a 4-on-1 or 4-on-2 attack. We had stereo pile drivers to Ospreay and Omega, and they were laid out by the Don Callis family, leading up to this match on the glorified edition of Collision coming up in a few weeks from Brisbane, Australia. Angle was fine, but I'm just so bummed out about Grand Slam. I was looking forward to actually watching a full-blown event live early in the day. Instead, they're just doing this late night deal, and they might get a lead-in from the sporting event, but it's just very disappointing, in my opinion. We had Hangman Adam Page backstage. He was looking for, I believe, Swerve Strickland. He bumped into MJF. They're teasing something, apparently. And then Renee Paquette talked to MJF about Jeff Jarrett, and MJF said Jarrett is going to learn the hard way for trying to go at it alone and not working with him. MJF said that he'll have a new offer that Jeff Jarrett will not be able to decline. More on that in a little bit. We had a promo from Will Hobbs, who was not there because he had his match with Big Bill on Collision, and he has not been cleared. He said that they went to hell on Collision, but hell is just the beginning. We'll see what happens with that. And then we had Claudio versus Jeff Jarrett. If Jeff Jarrett won this match, he would win an opportunity to face Jon Moxley for the AEW World Championship. Jarrett put on the figure 4 early on. Claudio was able to get to the rope, and then Wheeler Yuta, Wheelie, showed up, and that gave Claudio the upper hand because he really needed it against the almost 60-year-old Jeff Jarrett. You know, Claudio cannot beat Jeff Jarrett without some help. So he did the giant swing. He put on the sharpshooter, but of course, Jeff Jarrett, friends with Owen Hart, the late, great Owen Hart, knows a thing or two about the sharpshooter and managed to reverse it. And then Wheelie slipped the chair into the ring to try and help Claudio win. Claudio tried to use the chair, but Jarrett avoided it. Jarrett went for the stroke, and if Wheelie wasn't enough, certainly it was enough when Jon Moxley, the world champion, got involved and attacked Jarrett. Claudio hit the neutralizer, hit a second one because just one ain't enough to beat Double J Jeff Jarrett, 56, 57-year-old Jeff Jarrett. He needed to do 2 of them, and he finally beat Jeff Jarrett. So it took like 3 guys plus 2 neutralizers to beat old man Jeff Jarrett. Crowd chanted Double J. The show was in Huntsville, Alabama. Trivia note, location of the first NWA TNA pay-per-view. So there were probably some old school Jeff Jarrett fans there. Maybe 75% of his fan base in that region. It's not too far from Nashville, close to the border. MJF showed up and he teased like he was going to say something, but then, of course, he just laid out Jeff Jarrett. And I guess we're back to that feud. So I guess to try and put a positive spin on this, hey, Jeff Jarrett's not in the world title picture. That's the good news. That's my positive spin. The bad news is he's feuding with MJF. And this is a feud that, to me, is a waste of time for MJF. Like, why is he not in the world title picture? Why is he feuding with Jeff Jarrett? I don't know. Next up, we had Ricochet versus AR Fox, the guy that Swerve Strickland wiped the floor with last week. And AR Fox had a better showing against Ricochet than Swerve Strickland did. Just a match with 2 cruiserweights, basically what it was. AR Fox, very low on the totem pole. It's like Chad Gable versus Tozawa, something like that. Fox did get in some offense. Ricochet gave him a hip toss on the apron, but then after the commercial break, Fox started to make a comeback, came off the top with a 450. Ricochet kicked out of that. And then Ricochet grabbed the referee's shirt for leverage. Ricochet then picked up the win with his move, the Vertigo. And then after the match, he got his golden pair of scissors. He was going to use the scissors, but then Swerve Strickland showed up. There was a brawl between Swerve and Ricochet, but then Ricochet got the scissors again and held them up against AR Fox. So Swerve had to back off, and Ricochet managed to escape. What was he going to do? Murder AR Fox if Swerve didn't back up? Was he actually going to stab him to death with the scissors? I don't know. But yes, that match is taking place next week. Swerve versus Ricochet. That will be on next week's Dynamite. I'm mildly interested in it just to see what they do. It's one of the more compelling feuds they have going on right now. I will give them that. Backstage, we had, I guess this was recorded earlier in the week, Jon Moxley talking about how people want to see the AEW world title, but the world title, it lives in his heart. You know, this is a very noble man, despite being like the top heel in the company. And they're trying to build 1,000 Jon Moxleys. I don't know what the hell this is all about. Don't really care. I'm ready for the Death Riders to be erased from wrestling, but don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. Speaking of things that I would like to see erased from history, we had the New York Minute with Chris Jericho and the Redwood and the Bad Apple. They talked about Will Hobbs. Jericho said Bill will have to work a little bit harder next time. And then Jericho hyped up a match. He's going to team up with the Bad Apple against the Outrunners, the youngest men in the world, whatever their gimmick is. And that's going to be on Collision. Boy, oh boy. I guess it's better that Jericho's on Collision. I don't have to see it as opposed to Dynamite. We had Jay White in a one-on-one match with Wheelie Yuta, which is ratings death here. Way longer match than it needed to be because Jay White's not losing to Yuta. Yuta has the most ridiculous haircut, by the way. We're supposed to take this guy serious. You know, he's part of this top heel faction of badasses. Look at that haircut. Come on now. Who takes this guy seriously? Anyways, this was a way more competitive match than it needed to be. Jay White should have just mopped the floor with this guy in 3 minutes and let's move on with our lives. But no, they had this long, drawn-out match. Wheeler Yuta's going after the knee. They traded near falls, and eventually White was able to counter the running knee. You know, Yuta basically mimics Bryan Danielson, even does the "I got till 5" quote. But yeah, he went for the running knee, and White countered it with the Blade Runner, picked up the win, and then we had another one of our trademark post-match brawls. White wanted to deliver another Blade Runner, but then Jon Moxley showed up. Claudio attacked White from behind, and then we had Cope and FTR make the save, and FTR challenged them to a Mid-South street fight for Collision. That's going up against the Royal Rumble, by the way. Best of luck to them. We had a Mariah May and Toni Storm video package. So in case you missed Collision, you probably did. It was against Saturday night's main event. But Toni Storm is back to being timeless again. Why they did this on Collision is beyond me. You would think you would have this segment take place on Dynamite with the most eyeballs possible. What do I know, though? So yeah, Toni Storm is timeless again. And I just feel so bad because Toni Storm is such a great performer. The timeless gimmick and everything she's done, she's one of the best characters in the company. And they don't put her segment on Dynamite. Her match, which could have been like the main event of a major show, like I said, it's going to be a glorified Collision now on tape delay. And to me, that just really takes away from what this could have been. Like, imagine that. They could have done Toni Storm versus Mariah May. They could have done their full-blown event, put it on Max, air it live, put that match as the main event, and made a huge deal out of it. And it just feels like a wasted opportunity. And that they deserve better. Toni Storm and Mariah May deserve better. I'm just going to go ahead and outright say it. Very, very sad that their feud has not gotten the proper recognition here. Like they should have done what they did at Collision should have been the main event of Dynamite. It would have been a whole hell of a lot better than what they actually did. So we'll get to that in a moment. We had a video package for the Guns, Billy Gunn's kids, Austin and Colton. Don't care. I didn't even realize they were gone. Like, I thought they were just wrestling on Collision or something. I didn't even know they weren't around. So yeah, it was a forgettable segment in my opinion. Next up, we had Mercedes Moné versus, this was the main event of the show. The main event, which it's cool when the women get the main event spot, but Mercedes Moné versus Yuka Sakazaki. And she's been there. I had to look it up because I completely forgot. She's actually been with AEW since the beginning. And I was shocked. I'm like, how do I not know this? I mean, she was gone for a while because of the pandemic, and then she came back, and then she was gone again. So it just felt very random. There's no chance in hell Mercedes Moné is losing here to Yuka Sakazaki, with all due respect to her. I mean, it's the equivalent to doing like Rhea Ripley versus Blair Davenport or something like that as your main event of Monday Night Raw. Or Nia Jax versus Blair Davenport, something like that. You know, somebody who you know is at a very low tier against who you've been booking as one of your top stars in the main event. So yeah, there was not one moment where I thought Yuka Sakazaki was winning this match. So I had no interest in it. I was just ready for 10. And here's the thing. As this match is going on, I'm like, okay, I'm thinking in my head, okay, what are they going to do post-match? Because surely they're not just going to end the show with this match. Mercedes wins and they go off the air. Surely, don't call me Shirley, they're going to have something after the match, some kind of angle, so we're going to be hooked to tune into next week. Well, they have their match. Yuka gets in her offense. She's getting all the near falls. She counters the Meteora. She does a superplex. She does her merry-go-round slam. She keeps going for the cover. Mercedes, of course, kicks out. And then Mercedes hits the backstabber. And then the statement maker she puts on. Yuka Sakazaki gets out of that, goes for her springboard splash. Mercedes gets her knees up. And then Mercedes Moné wins with the Moné maker. Match was technically good, but to me, it meant nothing. And the show just goes off the air. No angle, nothing. To me, you know, the TV time is valuable real estate. You want to build to something. You want to build viewers, get people hooked, get people interested in what's going on. Like, what did this match accomplish? Mercedes just wins a match. She's on TV. That's it. That's all it was. It offered nothing else. It was a bore, and the show just went off the air. That was it. Nothing. I mean, they got Ricochet versus Swerve for next week, and that's about it. So that was Dynamite, and I think this show was a capital B. Boring. Forgettable show. I won't remember anything that happened on this show a week from now. I think it was the weakest show I've seen in 2025 so far. Below par, one of the weaker Dynamites that I've seen. I mean, again, I hate to say it was bad because I don't really think it was a bad show, but it was very underwhelming to me. So I'm going with a 3. 3 points out of 10. As far as AEW Dynamites go, this was certainly bottom tier that I've seen. It really accomplished nothing. In the end, didn't really do much to hype up anything. Like they did a little bit for Swerve and Ricochet, but that was about it. I don't care about Grand Slam. I don't care about Jon Moxley as the world champion. And I want to care about Tony Storm and Mariah May, but you know they're screwing up with this Grand Slam. Like, it should be live for viewers in the United States. We should be able to watch it live 8 a.m. or whatever the time is, and be able to watch it as it's happening. And let it be a 3-hour show or even a 4-hour show. Hey, it's early in the day. I can handle the 4-hour shows early. Like, make this a big deal. This is your Australia debut. AEW is an international company. Like, you want to make this show the biggest deal possible. And it feels like they just threw in the towel because the ticket sales were disappointing and they had to move the event. So yeah, I really don't have much else to say other than I think this show was very boring. So hopefully next week they'll pick things up, you know, with Revolution coming up. get the damn title off of Moxley. And unfortunately, I think they're building Cope versus Moxley, and I don't see Cope winning the title. So unfortunately, I think Mox is going to stay champion to like Double or Nothing. Lord help us all. Anyways, guys, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up. I know, it's not the most positive review, but just trying to give you guys the most honest recap of the show possible. And I think they can do a lot better. Have a great rest of your week, everyone. And I will be back after SmackDown. Hopefully SmackDown picks up, because SmackDown has been a little bit lackluster. It's the last show before the Royal Rumble, and we'll see what they do. So stay tuned to NoDQ.com for the very latest. Say yes to No DQ, and I will see you all next time.